Hi, everybody. Sorry, but these things happen. The Browns lose 15 to 10. Uh, I think there are a lot of people who think I'm going to be screaming and yelling and carrying on and cavorting and losing my voice and all of that. But that's not going to be the case. I like to throw a curve to the audience every so often. Uh, Here's what I can tell you. It's not what I can surmise. It's not what I'm guessing. The Browns just aren't very good. Okay. They can't make a play when they need to make a play. And I think that this is been symbolic all year long that they cannot win close games. There are questionable decisions that have been made in some games that they've lost where they've gone for it in situations and called some ridiculous play. In other games, they have a situation when they're ahead of the game to just get 1 yard and the head coach doesn't have the confidence to test the middle of the Steelers line. Not one single play went up the middle in the entire game for the Cleveland Browns, and he wasn't about to try it at that point in time. And then what it comes down to at the end of the game is that you knew that the Steelers would throw the ball 100 miles an hour to a guy who caught it with one hand, bounced it into the other hand, and got 2 feet down. But the game was lost long before that because the Browns, whenever they had an opportunity to really do damage, dropped passes. For everybody who says that Baker Mayfield should not have played, y'all were wrong. You can stand up and go, I was wrong. Because the bottom line is that his receivers destroyed him far worse than the Steelers did. I mean, balls that should have been caught, just fumbled, missed. I mean, it's almost inexplicable except to say that it's consistent. So it isn't that you're bitten by a bug or that it's bad luck. It's that the team is not very good. The coach doesn't believe in the offense. The offense played like it was walking on eggshells. They looked intimidated. They didn't give up but 15 points. There's no reason they couldn't have scored more than that with the amount of time of possession they had in the first half of the game. But there was no consistency in the Browns being able to do anything offensively. And every play that the Steelers needed to make, they are the better football team. And I wish them well. I don't think they're a good football team, but I think that, they're better than we are. And I think they proved that they can win this type of game 9 out of 10 times against this team because the Browns don't have the stomach for close games. The coach doesn't have the stomach for it. And the players just making these ridiculous. I mean, Higgins just walking off sides for just no reason. I mean, their minds aren't there. They're just intimidated. And it isn't just against the Steelers. It's every close game that they play, they find a way to lose. The answer, of course, is not Case Keenum. The answer is people doing their job. And that's what Stefanski will say, we didn't execute, blah, blah, blah. But nobody on the team executes except for Baker Mayfield, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC, who's taken a bad rap for all of the things that he doesn't do perfectly because he's not an elite quarterback, but he did more than enough to win this football game. But his players, his receivers, wouldn't let him. So in the end, this is what you end up with. The Browns are 4-4 in last place, and that's where they belong. They belong at 4-4. They're a 500 football team. Before the season began, a lot of people took umbrage with what I said, which was last year's 11-5 season. I said very easily, when we outscored teams by scoring 45 points a game and gave up 38, we won those games. Well, this year we're not winning those close games, and you can't count on consistently winning those kinds of close games. Doesn't work that way. The Browns could have just as easily been 9-7 and out of the playoffs last year. This is the same thing that we're seeing this year, except it's the flip side. We're not winning the close games. The reason we're not winning, I think, is real evident. We don't have wide receivers. Jarvis Landry is through. He's beaten up. At his age, he's through. Odell Beckham, what, is he going to try to make a one-handed catch flying through the air because his shoulder's bad? He's done. He's finished. He's not what he used to be. Anthony Schwartz, no help from the draft whatsoever at the wide receiver position. Donovan Peoples-Jones, not able to play. Rashard Higgins looking like he's disinterested and dropping passes and jumping off sides as a wide out receiver, which makes no sense whatsoever. There's no receivers. There's no team speed. There's nobody, not a single deep play, not only in the game, but in my memory right now. The Browns are not even trying to stretch the field. They don't have any team speed.
Getting no help from the tight ends either. Hooper, I don't know.
Hooper dropping passes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just on and on and on it goes. And having three tight ends doesn't make any sense when you don't have a single wide out. And I think this is the obvious problem for the Browns, is that the season is over. The playoffs are out of reach. And they're not going to go on an 8-game win streak or something like that because we have to play the rest of our in-division games. And we can't win those games. We're not good enough. We don't have an offense. And, I was sitting there and saying, it looks like teams figured our offense out. And I was saying that weeks ago. Well, it isn't that it's just not there. There's nothing to worry about because you never have to worry about a double move by any of these receivers because they have no speed to break away. So you can play right up on them and the ball, even if it's perfectly thrown, the receiver is always going to be contested. And today is a good example. They don't catch the ball either. So, this is not hard to figure out. And it is the unfortunate nature of what I do as a hobby that I have to watch another 9 games of this because they need to lose. They need to let the quarterback have his surgery now, lose, and they got to find wide receivers because, again, Baker had time to throw. He threw the ball accurately, for the most part accurately. I mean, his stats will show that, if you took away the drops, the guy was 20 of 31, for God's sakes. And there were 6 balls dropped. He could have been easily 25 of 31. Very easily. And then what it comes down to also is that when they have to make a play, the Steelers know how to get it done. Take a look at the game. If you recorded the game, take a look at Kevin Stefanski, and I'll do Kevin Stefanski here for you on the sidelines. He'll be like a cowering little church mouse, okay? And then, if I had my shades, I'd do Mike Tomlin. Not even fazed by the whole thing. Knows he's going to win. Been there, done that. And he's got a lousy team. And it still doesn't matter. You go for it where you should go for it. And when you're ahead in a game 10-9 and you get that first down 4th and 1, you're telling that opponent something about physicality. And what Kevin Stefanski told the Steelers is that you're more physical than we are. And that's just what they thrive on. That's exactly the thing that they do. So,
They're Scott from A Christmas Story.
I don't know A Christmas Story.
It's a movie based in Cleveland. And Scott is this yellow-eyed little bastard who wears a coonskin cap and beats up the neighborhood kids.
And, no, I got to disagree with you, Rudy. No, the Steelers won fair and square. The Steelers were the clutch, better team. In the pinch, they delivered the plays they had to make. And I'll tell you, the touchdown pass that beat us could never be repeated 100 times, but we've seen it 100 times from Ben Roethlisberger, and we will see it for the rest of our lives and our nightmares. That was perfect coverage, and how that ball gets through, thrown as hard as it was, and that guy was able to not only bobble it and catch it, but keep his feet in, and he's a rookie. God only knows.
I told you all on Friday that Freiermuth could fill in for Ebron and the other asshole.
No, it was actually Derek who pointed that out, that he gave nightmares to Ohio State last year when he played at Penn State.
No, I said that.
Nah, it's a shame Derek's not here to claim what he said, but at any rate, somebody said it, and the bottom line is I don't think Ebron could have made that catch. I don't know anybody who could have made that catch, but he did.
The disappointing play was that Najee Harris touchdown run, because Camel Toe Harris could have scored like Charlie Sheen in a fucking sorority house, handing out AIDS like chocolate candies, and with the way that they played defense on that play, they got fucking blown up right through the middle.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look back at the game, and to me, it squandered offensive opportunities, and it's having an absolute chance to win the game. And every time the Steelers didn't, that gave the ball back to us twice in the fourth quarter to win the game, we found a way not to. It was nothing. That was, again, Landry hadn't fumbled for 5 years, and all of a sudden he picks this week to do that. And it was nothing that Baker Mayfield could have done about it. It was a force of nature against him. It was the laws of nature making sure that Baker Mayfield would not win that game. And it was not the referees, it was his own teammates. They were terrible.
Bengals lose to the Jets.
Wow, that is really a shock. But then, what you have there is a team, they didn't take it seriously because they haven't been there. And these teams, it's the Ravens in the end who will rise in the North, and the Browns will just be a 500 team. And the Browns will continue to be a 500 team until they figure out what they need to do offensively with a real offensive coordinator, and what they need to do with wideout receivers in the draft or through free agency, because we can't go through playing guys who are just torn apart physically. And, I understand that they want to play, but Jarvis Landry's desire to play doesn't trump the fact that he lost the game for us. He lost the game for the Browns. And each one of these guys who made these drops, and, they individually lost the game. And
that's just a fumble you never see Landry. That fumble, it's just you never see him do that. And he did it.
And the thing that's crazy about it is he slipped away. Where's he going to run with that bad knee? He was having trouble planning it. The one he caught over the middle where he tried to spin and give the first down signal, his knee collapsed. If you watch it on film, you'll see just how bad his knee was on the end around when he tried to plant the knee, how he didn't get proper push off on it. He's not healthy. And on the pass that he dropped in the end, if he had an extra half a step, he might have caught it. But he's supposed to have the best hands on the team, and he sure did not today. And injuries, you can always point to injuries, but this game was eminently winnable, and the Browns can't win a close game. That's what it comes down to. And I wish I could tell you that I have any belief, but all my belief is gone in this because it has never been Baker Mayfield. I really hate it when when the national press gets on a binge about something. Now they'll go away from Baker Mayfield and just say the Browns suck. And I'm going to ride that bandwagon. The Browns aren't good. They're just an average football team. And they're not a playoff football team. There's nothing about the way this team has performed this year that would make anyone think they deserve to be a playoff football team. So I'm going to get my 17 games in and I'll go do whatever I do in 2022 and we'll see what happens in the draft. But we don't have the pieces to be able to get things done. And once the Steelers stopped the run game or convinced our head coach that they had stopped the run game, and that's part of this too. I mean, Stefanski, wait a sec. You wonder why his hair is prematurely turning gray. He's, as the team goes, he is the leader. If you don't let somebody try, then they're going to get a whiff of the fact that you don't believe in them. And he's just, this offense, if you don't have the ability to run a deep pattern because your receivers are too slow and you don't have any who can beat anybody, then I guess what you have is a mediocre 8-yard a pop passing offense. And stop blaming Baker when he tries to look down the field and nobody's open. It just isn't there. Yeah. And it just bothers me that, I look at this as a collective thing. The only thing that Stefanski and I agree on at this point is that we're all one team. And, and I think the defense played a good game. I think the defense did what it had to do, and it was a very fortuitous catch in the end zone that beat them. But you can't, I said the reason I didn't want Case Keenum to play on Friday was because you can't get into this kind of game with the Steelers. You will lose. And now, somewhat prophetic. Yeah, this is what happened. You didn't get separation. And when you don't get separation and you let the other team, when you score that touchdown and you get ahead, and then you let the Steelers move the ball back down the field, it's no good. Yeah. And I don't think anybody would see this any other way. And I think that Stefanski already, he convinces himself. This is a classic case of overthinking. All right. This is a Princeton guy who's overthinking, when he goes for it, when he doesn't go for it, and all of that. But what he really doesn't realize, and it's the thing that makes him inadequate, is that he got done last week just telling the world, or 2 weeks ago, we're just an average team. He said it himself. That's how he identified his team. And they played down to it now, didn't they? I mean, if that's what he believes, and then it's like 4th and 1, we can go for it. If we can then get another touchdown and get more than a 1-score differential here, it's like we're going to win this game. And the coach balks and he just says, punt it away. Every one of those players is saying, that's because we're an average team. That's how they feel. That's how they play. Yeah, go ahead.
On that final drive where you had 3 timeouts, would have you kicked the field goal?
No. In the end, it didn't matter because Tomlin threw the slant. You see, in the end, Tomlin has bigger balls than Stefanski. With less talent, he has bigger balls. And in a game of bully, of tough guy, Having big balls counts for a hell of a lot because eventually you have to fight. You can't talk. Eventually you have to show your goods. You got to fight. And when the other team bloodies your nose, you got to get up and punch back. But the Browns did not. They're an average team. They've been convinced. They've been conditioned. When a coach goes in front of the national media and says that about his team, then that's exactly what he got. Congratulations. I would never have said something like that about my team. What I would have said is that we have to play better, and here's specifically the mistakes that were made. But to just say we're just an average team, yeah, if that was supposed to fire this team up, I sure didn't see any fire in this game except from Baker Mayfield. And that's the one half the Cleveland fans want to get rid of. It's crazy. Where is DPJ? He's got a groin injury and can't play. That's where he is. You know. Well, and this is another misnomer. You know, the whole gang being together. Do you really think that Odell Beckham should even be on the field? When he's crossing over the middle and the ball's thrown up in the air and he tries a one-handed snare catch, it's because he can't lift both shoulders up. Plain and simple. You can't do it. Right. And watching Jarvis Landry trying to play on that knee. You know, if you tape the game, watch the one where he caught it up the middle and he spun to try to say first down, and he stumbled because his knee gave out on him. No. The gang, if that's the whole gang, then no. That gang.
It's the gang that can't shoot straight.
Yeah, they're just hurt. They're wounded and they're past their prime. And we talk about windows all the time. If you want an elite quarterback, then go ahead and lose for the next 6-7 years and pray that you get lucky on one. All right. And pray that you don't get a Sam Darnold. All right. Or a Brandon Weeden or all the other horrible things that have happened, not in other teams' past and our past. Get a Dwayne Haskins.
Josh Rosenstein.
Yeah. Get whoever. But the opportunity is now, and you have a quarterback who is more than capable of winning a Super Bowl. What it's going to require is a defense that is a solid defense, and he's got to have speed. He's got to have wide receivers who can run. He's got running backs. And what you also need are some backup offensive linemen, because it's obvious that these guys aren't going to stay healthy. And the window of opportunity was only about that wide, because Conklin's always injured. He didn't re-injure the knee. It was an elbow he injured this time. I mean, it's always something. And, these guys get hurt, and they have a career full of hurt, and didn't run the ball today. And the Steelers said, we dare you. We're going to go man-to-man coverage. Receivers couldn't really beat anybody. And then when they were open, they couldn't catch it. So if you were the Steelers, why wouldn't you feel free license to just stop the run and to sell out at the line of scrimmage when there's nothing, and I will say the biggest single play of the game and the greatest play of the game was made by Cameron Sutton. And again, go back and watch the play. It was a play in which Baker rolled right and handed off back against the grain to Chubb, and who cut it outside. Cameron Sutton was blitzing on the play from that side. He made the play of the game, maybe the play of the year for the Steelers, because he was flying in. And if you take a look at the second view of what happened on that play that the network showed, he got and tripped up Chubb and dropped him for a loss. Chubb, had he just gotten around that man, touchdown. There was nobody there. There was nobody on that side of the field. He'd have still been running. But you see, that's the difference between a team that makes the play that has to be made versus a team that just doesn't seem to make the play when they need to make it. So the Steelers at 4-3 are better than the Browns at 4-4. They proved it on our field. And now, who knows? I mean, if you're a Browns fan, I don't say this happily. I'm just saying it factually, and I'm not unhappy. I'm just saying I'm watching these games along with you, and we haven't seen any explosive offense, since early in the season. And whatever we were doing was caught on to, and now it's obvious that we just can't get anybody behind somebody. And we just can't. We don't have the ability to make chunk plays. We just don't have it. So you've really turned Baker Mayfield into Tyrod Taylor. That's basically what's happened because there's nobody who can get deep. And if they try to get deep, you're sitting there, it's like this. 1 Mississippi, 2 and he gets sacked. Not gonna win with this group of receivers. Not going to happen. And if you want to take advantage of a window, you re-sign Baker Mayfield, but you get him out now, and you hope to start losing a lot of games and try to get 2 bona fide wide receivers in the draft.
Yeah.
That's the answer to all questions. No reason now. I mean, you're going to Cincinnati. You think Cincinnati's not going to be pissed after losing to the Jets? Holy cannoli. They were looking ahead to Cleveland. They're probably realizing, shit, why were we looking forward to that? We didn't have to. We could beat that in a heartbeat. All we have to do is put 23 points on the board and we win.
17.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult situation. It's a hard pill to swallow if you were looking for more than what you got last year. But the fact is that the return of Odell Beckham has been zero, and all that Jarvis Landry has been is not only a continuation of being hurt and playing hurt, but these are more crippling and devastating things that are happening to him. And so there is no more hope that we can move forward with these two players at playing primary roles on an offense because they're just not well physically. And you cannot win in the NFL with the speed of the game. Even if Donovan Peoples-Jones is playing, you can't win with DPJ, Rashard Higgins, and a bunch of tight ends. You just can't win. And Demetric Felton, you can't win. They just don't have anything that can scare anybody. So that's what it is. And, unfortunately, the fact that these games are close games, the coach isn't going to get fired. But I think that we need a change in offensive coordination and we need a change in personnel in our passing game.
Right.
And we didn't see much of Dearness Johnson, but we didn't see much of anything as far as the ground game was concerned. I mean, my goodness, the Browns got 96 yards rushing. That's just not going to cut it. And the Steelers got 115, and the Browns didn't do anything wrong defensively.
Well, and it felt like 315 watching it.
No, what it looked like to me is they made plays when they had to. When they fell behind, they came right back. And that is the sign of a team that is well coached and who believes in one another. And I have no idea. It's with smoke and mirrors with a Ben Roethlisberger who clearly has no mobility left, who clearly is not 1/3 of the quarterback he used to be. And, we still let it get to that point where he had one pass and he completed it somehow. And it was a horrible throw. It was a guy who was covered and it should never have been completed. But when you don't go for it on 4th one to put the game away, you end up that a fluke play, a trick play, or whatever can turn the entire fortunes of the game around. And the Browns, unfortunately, we're being Marty balled to death. We are uh, now we were unable to even get into the red zone because we'd fumbled it before we got there. So, or drop it before we got there. Very strange. And psychologically, unfortunately, this is going to prey on the Browns players, and you're going to start seeing an evaporation of confidence as a result of this. I know, I've seen it for decades. And they need some kind of infusion here, because if it's not done, then you're going to be, 17 games in, you're going to be probably somewhere around a 7-10 or 8-9 team. That's what's going to happen. And that's not good enough to get a bona fide first round pick. It's not good enough. So,
Nope, it's the 10 to 20 range.
Yeah, and that's just, and the way that we ignored the wide receiver position in the last 2 years, and wasted a third on Schwartz. That is amazing to me, that there had to have been a better option in the third round than that guy. But you can't count on third round wide receivers. There are guys who have made it big in the third, out of the third round. But, there's a belief from the analytics people, I think, that you don't take wide receivers in the first round. So that's kind of the deal. So let's see what Keyblade says. So is this what our offense has been reduced to, trying to win low-scoring physical games? Yeah, it's Eric Mangini time. We've shrunk our own field. I mean, all we served to do with the first drive is that we ran the clock down for the Steelers. We're great at eating up time and eating up clock. We just don't do anything with it in the red zone. Yeah, this is what we have. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tune in next time for another exciting episode of Honey, I Shrunk My Testicles.
Yeah, I mean, and I always feel badly for players because they're playing hurt, they're the walking wounded, and when the head coach stands up there and says, we're just average. We're just average. And anybody who wants to comment in the chat room, if you see Stefanski's press conference where he repeats his mantra, I'd be more than happy to hear about that.
Let's see if I can. 92.3 The Fan usually does get the quotes. So let me check it.
Who does usually?
92.3 The Fan. Normally they post some post-game quotes, so we will.
Yeah. Okay, well, keep it in your eyesight, Calf. You know what the thing is, Sean? It isn't that he doesn't adjust to what the defense is giving. We don't have a way to take what they're, what they're giving.
Their weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, what they're giving, we can't do. They're going press coverage, and we can't beat them deep downfield. That's the bottom line. It's not that he doesn't adjust. The players that he has are like these slow guys. And in this league, it would be just like trying to win an NBA game. You know how perfect you have to be if you're outsped? I mean, you have to make the reason these games come down to 2 or 3 plays is because we have no margin for error, because we have no breakaway capability. I mean, if you had 2 big plays in you in that game, the Steelers would never have been able to come back from it. And if you could, you'd have punished them for press coverage so that they were stopping your run game. But we can't. That's the point. And that's on the front office. It's also on Stefanski for not drawing up plays. And it's on the players for not catching passes. And yeah, I don't like Ronnie Harrison, and I would like to see him gone. He can't be counted on. He's got a screw loose. And, there's no time for that me bullshit. And he's laughing on the sideline after he nullified a holding call against the Steelers deep in territory. He's laughing on the sidelines. I would make sure that guy'd never play for me again. Seriously. And I don't care how far down I am, I have to go to find a safety. That guy, not a team player. He got ejected once this year doing the same shit. He doesn't care about the team. And there is a problem that I have with that. And, we're going to get a lot of these things, trade for. You're not going to trade for anybody. You're not going to trade for anybody this year. You're stuck with what you got. And it really is, it's hurtful to watch how tortoise-like the offense is, really. Because you have this quarterback who has such a strong... What did he say?
What?
He said, to quote, we scored 10 points, and that's not very good. We really played like an average football team. We've got work to do.
Well, average coaches get fired. What can I tell you? If I were in the press, I would just say, every time you say that, this is just, you've lost the team. Team doesn't want to hear that. They're playing crippled. They're out there playing crippled because they're trying. They're just not physically capable. What's average is the draft, that you don't get wide receivers for 2 years. That's below average. Take responsibility. Be accountable. Cite the reasons why. We are too slow. And you're not going to get a trade for anybody that's meaningful because they're not going to know the offense. There's going to be no chemistry. And honestly, I would bring Davion Davis up from the damn practice squad. What do you got to lose? He at least goes up for the ball with 2 hands. I mean, if you want to be average with healthy players. This is stupid. That's what makes it irritating to me, is that a guy from Princeton can't figure out what impact his words have on the people who play for him. It's really hard for me to fathom that. But I knew that he would, I knew that he would say the same thing, because that's just what he does.
Baker Mayfield on the game today. I didn't make enough plays to win us a football game.
Look, Baker Mayfield has nothing to be ashamed of. He'll take accountability and responsibility. He's not going to sell out his teammates. He's not going to do that. All right? Unlike the head coach, who will just lay it at the feet of being a bunch of average guys out there. He's not going to say, boy, our receivers really played bad today. They dropped a lot of balls. He ain't going to do that. So, that doesn't surprise me either. He's got more character than the head coach does. What can I tell you?
Suddenly, I just keep hearing Joe Walsh's ordinary average guys in my head.
Yeah, and... it isn't Freddie Kitchens, because Freddie Kitchens had no idea what's going on. I think Kevin Stefanski is just this overthinking, mini minutia guy who just loses track of a bigger picture, and in the moment just becomes overly cerebral and thinks himself out of games. That is what I believe. I believe that he's a bright guy, but I think that he just overthinks stuff. 4th and 1, when you have a team, you know damn well that Tomlin would have gone for it and rammed it down our throat. You know that, but
they would have gotten the push to shove the defense, 2 or 3 yards down the field.
Something, Brian. When did we run the ball up the middle for short yardage? Did you see that happen the whole game? Did you see him try?
Yeah.
When? What did I miss?
Every time. Short yardage gained or short yardage position?
I mean, in a situation where they just All they had
because
to do was just.
I saw a shitload of 1 and 2 yard and 1 yard loss and 2 yard
Well,
loss.
wait. What you're.
So
Yeah, but I'm saying on a 4th and 1 where and Stanton comes into the game and he's hurt, by the way, and and you come up and you do the we're gonna try to draw him off sides thing. I mean, when it comes down to that, you've waved the flag of surrender. It means I don't have confidence in this and get off the field, and let Gillen go ahead and try to kick one. I mean, the fact is, if you can't, against a physical team, make a statement that you're more physical than they are with your top offensive line in place. I know Conklin was gone, but I don't give a shit about that. On a 4th and 1 where you go straight up the gut, that is a want-to situation. But again, just like he did to Baker Mayfield on the draw play weeks ago on a 3rd and 9, he did the same thing to the offensive line. He never gave them the chance to fail. He assumed they would fail before the whole thing ever happened, so he tried to get him to jump off sides one time, and then he just punted the ball away.
Stefanski updated injuries. Jack Conklin dislocated his elbow, so he'll be out for a while.
Yep.
And John Johnson has a neck sprain.
A what? I'm sorry?
A neck sprain.
Yeah, he's going to be gone for a while, too.
He'll be gone for a while, too.
Yeah, so what bothers me is declaring people average when we know that our offensive line is above average, but they were never given a chance to execute the 4th and 1 to keep the ball and to perhaps have a midfield first down to have another chance to get in a scoring position and to score a touchdown. We'll never know. But they have now been lumped in with the group as average because we only scored 10 points. You see, he can always point his finger at somebody else. But the fact is, if you're not given a chance, you'll never succeed.
Right.
Just a huge philosophical difference that I have with this coach. Huge. But they're not going to stay, Trill Hill, they're not going to stay around 500. The cream will rise. It always does. And the Browns really are a 500 football team. They're not good enough. And right now they're trending in the wrong direction because their offense is broken. The players themselves, their bodies are busted up. So, there's right now there's a lot of teams, almost halfway through the season, but the cream will rise, and teams that are lesser teams will become lesser teams. Teams like the Cardinals, who jumped out to this great record, will come down to earth to a degree. But, look at the Detroit Lions. They got picked to win, and they were losing when I saw 41-7 to the Eagles. I mean, you pretty well established how bad you are, and the Browns have proven that they lost to the Steelers, and that's unfortunate.
It's
funny.
Day in the NFL. Odd day.
Jim Ruger, he looks like Odell Beckham to you. He wears the same number. He's not the same guy. And he is not able to separate, and he's not healthy enough now. I mean, the fact that he is acknowledged with his big yap that he's had one shoulder problem for years and years, and he refused surgery, and now this second one, he's refusing surgery again. I don't want to have anything to do with him. He needs surgery on both shoulders. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Fuck him. He's not productive as a player. I feel badly that he's injured, but if I have to make a decision on him, he's not capable. He's just not physically capable of doing it. And let him have whatever success he has with 80% of NFL teams. Let them have him. Please, dear God. Because he's not the same player. And if you're looking at all you had to do is look at the one play down the field. He's trying to make one of those, highlight reel catches. He couldn't lift both of his shoulders up in the air to catch it. No. I mean, sorry, but I don't agree. Vehemently, I don't
Yeah,
agree.
the Browns brought him in to be the number one receiver, and he's just not good enough to do that
Yeah,
anymore.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
the
there's a
fact
reason he's the
is,
number one receiver on losing Giants teams.
yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, but he could beat people deep, and that's great. He just can't do it anymore. And,
No.
a lot of it has to do, and I think fans just think it's legs, okay, speed. And I think that's a huge problem for the Browns is that they don't have fast wide receivers. But there's also separation. You've got to use your arms, your upper body. You got to, and receivers do push off all the time. And when they're in press coverage, they have to, be able to use that upper body physicality to get loose and get space from press coverage. But if you have two busted up shoulders, you can't do that.
Right.
You can keep praying for the old OBJ, but he's long gone. He's on that midnight train to Georgia, man. And Wally, we are an average football team. The best thing we've accomplished this year was losing to the Chiefs in a close game, And the fact is, we have been made into an average football team by A, ignoring our receiving core as far as speed is concerned, B, injuries. And I'm not a big excuse maker, but it's been torturous for the Browns. They can't keep players on the field at all, and that includes their quarterback. And, but the third thing is a head coach who blinks. He blinks every time something gets tough. He calls the 3rd and 9 draw play. Every time a player has a chance to step up and do something, or the offensive line needs 1 yard. Isn't that what you're paying these people for? You got to go for that. You got to get it done. And if you admit to the other team, and you want to know how pathetic it was? The Steelers went for it. They ended up maiming their kicker. And the reason they did it is because Tomlin was convinced the Browns weren't going to score points. And he was right. He took a look at Stefanski and said, punk-ass white boy from Princeton. He ain't got no cojones.
Right.
I mean, that's what he was saying in essence was, well, we don't have a kicker, so we'll just go for it on 4th down and throw the ball 100 miles an hour to a guy who's covered. He'll catch it. And he did. He made the play. He was given a chance to make the play. Roethlisberger was given a chance to throw the ball. And there's Stefanski not giving his players a chance. It's real simple. So those three things are all part of the same thing. And again, Brian, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter why we lose these games, pick a reason. Everyone, including the team now, expects to lose late, and we do. That's part of the problem, yeah. And in the end, we found out from Marty, and I'm not denigrating a man who passed away, and I did not know Marty Schottenheimer personally. I did get to know Sam Rutigliano a little personally, but not Marty. But he just would send the defense out on the field to give up the final score, and he never learned from it. As long as people wore ties on the road, he was all right. But the fact of the matter is, it's the result that matters. And you're right, Brian. It springs a different leak in the hose. It's like the little boy with putting his fingers in the dike down at Rosie McDonald. You know what I'm saying. We're springing a leak somewhere else, but the result is the same because there just isn't the confidence.
Amsterdam, your thoughts?
Hey, Ty, how you doing? No, he's already spoken in the press conference, I guess, and he said what we knew, and again, seems fair enough. We're average. And right now we're not scoring enough points to win football games. And When our defense gives up 15, we score 10. When we score, 41, they give up 45, right? Or 47, right? It's always something. And that's a sign of a team that's just, not able to get out of its own way for whatever reason. I think stubbornness kills. I really do. I think that we're into this run game, the zone running offense, and we are really into 3 tight ends, and we're going to use them all. And we're going to use the middle of the field with tight ends. And we're going to have a bunch of clodhoppers out on the field. And we're going to be a power football team. But then when it's 4th and 1, we're not very powerful. We don't go for it. So I think that the head coach is stubborn and he is flawed. That would be Wable says, I hate this fucking team. I don't hate the Cleveland Browns, but I recognize this is not nearly as emotional as most post-game shows are. This is just laying it out for you. You can't get very excited when you see something like this because you're going into Cincinnati and you're going to get your ass beat. That's what you know, because they're going to score points. It wasn't a problem scoring points against the Jets. Well, it wasn't a problem. They're going to score points against the Browns. So
it's going to be like 35-8.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be, if something like that happened, that could be, the end. I think there's a lot of things that Stefanski won't allow, and that's for individuals to shine. I don't think that he will allow for players to be able to go out and prove their dominance. I think he's a fake tough guy, and he's got a slide rule with him on the sidelines, and that he is cold, he is bloodless, and he's playing in a game, or he's coaching in a game that has such an emotional component automatically and a physicality built into it that being distant with a slide rule doesn't always get the job done. And I think that, this whole thing, we got an Ivy League front office, we have an Ivy League head coach, but we got Ivy League receivers. It's foolishness. Again, if that was the basis for people being brilliant in football, I don't remember Don Shula with a PhD. I don't remember that. I could be wrong, okay? But I don't remember any of these head coaches who won Super Bowls as being,
John Madden.
Hey, I never even took the Wonderlick. I mean, I don't think
invented it yet.
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing any genius head coaches. Certainly not in Cleveland. But the thing I loved about Ritigliano is he let his guy take chances. He was willing to ride with his players. The problem was when the players changed and it became Paul McDonald and he tried to instill confidence in a guy who was horrible. All it took was 1 year and he got fired. And the reason he got fired was because of the Inner Circle program, which drew attention to the problem with drugs in the NFL. And the NFL didn't like that. And the Browns ownership, out you go. Art Modell, the deceased, decomposed prick, sends him off to pasture. And Ritigliano,
that's when they drafted Charles White.
Two-time Coach of the Year, Sam Ritigliano, could not find a job in the NFL. And Sam won't say it himself, but I will say it for him. Blackballed as surely as Colin Kaepernick, because you don't talk drugs and NFL in the same sentence. They don't want to hear that shit. No way. And so he ended up going to Liberty College. So he coached out his years at Liberty. Now, that's a shame that a man doesn't get an opportunity to do what he does best just because he was honest. God forbid. But he believed in his players, at least. You know.
Well, and think of every drug addict in the NFL in the 1980s. Dexter Manley, Lawrence Taylor, who the fuck else? Charles White. There was like 50 guys that had problems with fucking drugs in the goddamn 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when Charles White came out on the field and Brian Sipe waved him off because he was high. That actually happened in a game. Wide awake. If we finish 9-8, does Baker? What does it have to do with Baker? What did today's loss have to do with Baker? Baker better get an extension because if he, then we're gonna be 3-14 in the next 6 years.
Yep.
For the next 6 years. That's what's going to happen. If we finish 9-8, does he get a deal? Baker's got nothing to do with this. God almighty, get it through your heads. It's not Baker Mayfield. Jeez, oh, weezo. And no, it isn't. It isn't the same old Browns because we have a good offensive line. We've got a good quarterback. We just need to freshen the troops. We need to get younger wide receivers on the field. We have
a
young running
backs.
backs. We got young running backs in the backfield, but we've got guys who are 29 years old who are going on 40 because they've just been hurt too much. And I feel bad for Jarvis Landry. I mean, I understand he played hurt. He was real soldier all these years, but you do nobody any favors if that's all the better you can do out there because you're hurting so bad. The Browns need to have more. They have to have depth. I mean, when Ebron went down, the rookie tight end, man, that kid won the game for them. Depth is part of the game. It is not the same old Browns. If you think that it's the same old Browns, you haven't been watching. The talent is there to be a playoff team, except in a wide receiver offensive set. It is hurting Baker Mayfield tremendously.
The Steelers don't have any superstars at wide receivers. I mean, Claypool's a nice player. Johnson's a nice player. But they aren't Chris Godwin. They aren't Mike Evans. They aren't, the superstars of the league. But they have depth at wide receiver that can make plays if you need them to.
Absolutely. And, I'm smirking because it's like, nobody's going to get my goat with Cam Newton. I mean, this has nothing to do with the quarterback position in Cleveland. This has everything to do with injuries, a head coach who's myopic and is tunnel vision like this, and just a lack of speed at wide receiver. It's obvious what the problem is, and we don't have an answer for it. I wouldn't, the fact that the defense did what it did is good news to me, but I'm convinced that if the Browns go out and score 30 points, they will give up 33. I have no confidence in that either. But, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is crippled, but he won.
Yeah.
The Haslams need to make a statement and pay Baker. And he already is the franchise quarterback. You let him walk. You let him go. And quite honestly, it'll be another 10 years, and I'm going to stop podcasting. If they do not give him the job and pay him, I'm done. I'm walking because I don't have 10 more years of this shit left in me to watch, Cody Kessler or whoever they end up having to put in as a stopgap. And the stopgap becomes an annual rite of passage for some old son of a bitch who can't play anymore. And we keep tripping over our own dicks because we don't pick the right quarterback. I ain't going through that again, man.
You know how it's gonna go. They're gonna fucking let Baker walk. They'll start Keenum, and they'll draft some fucking kid in the 3rd round this year. That's gonna, fucking the worst quarterback class since
I don't believe that.
Fucking years.
No, I think the Browns are going to re-sign Baker Mayfield. I really do. I don't think that there's a real question. I'm trying to make sense of this comment. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. If you can't even have a winning record with it, then you never will. This is not a Super Bowl caliber team. You're smoking weed. Super Bowl teams have wide receivers that can run really fast times. Like we're talking 4.2, 4.3, 4.4 receivers. We don't have a single receiver who can run a sub 4.5 that plays. Anthony Schwartz could run in a straight line. We don't have a guy who runs sub 4.5 on the field. This is not a Super Bowl caliber team. Stop making these bold, sweeping statements that are not true. That's just incorrect. And I don't like to disseminate incorrect information.
Oh, geez. Here comes Joe.
I don't know who Joe is.
Joe Shipley.
Oh, well, I mean,
John Harbaugh would have this team at 5-2 or 6-1. No, he wouldn't. Not with this fucking ownership, dude. No fucking way.
Now, upstate picker, it's like, if they let Baker walk, I'm never going to watch them again. Well, they don't care. I don't think the organization really cares. They're going to make their money whether they win or lose. That's that. And Blitzberg, who's a happy Steelers fan, it's the culture, not the talent. And I will agree with the fact that we had a better football team on the field. I said this prior to the game. That does not always determine who wins the football game. And all credit due to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the limited amount of weaponry that they have, including at the quarterback position, that they still managed to win the game. They won this game like we won the Denver game, okay? That's the truth of the matter. So you're not going to get an argument from me. They deserve to win the game. They made the play, and that's the way it works. You can analyze it 14 different ways. We have a defensive backfield that is injury prone. Denzel Ward can't continue to stay on the field because he's hurt all the time. And they were picking on Greedy Williams earlier in the game. He's a softer coverage back. Newsome looks like a good one, but he has some potential injury issues too that seem to be nicks and ding-ups that take him off the field periodically. But we just, and then John Johnson III and all these people who are constantly in a flux of getting hurt. This is what I see. The defense, we have young people that we drafted. And I think by and large, the Delpits are good players. I think Greedy's a good backup guy. I think Denzel has lost luster, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the injuries, maybe it's confidence, not sure. Newsome, I think, is a very good coverage secondary guy. So I think what we drafted there is fine. But when you ignore a position like wide receiver, and the reason you do is because you think that your head coach is an Ivy League genius and that he can scheme around guys who run 4.5 and over, 40s, and then you're fooling yourself. It's just mental masturbation at that point. So, and again, that. Again, Jason, your team won. That's great. But you're obviously, if this really is your picture, it's one of two things. Either you're very young or you're gay. Okay.
Or both.
And a lot of the Steelers fans, yeah, I know how many Super Bowl trophies you have. You're not going to get another one. That isn't going to happen. But for a day, you can feel better about your team and watch them as the season goes on get more and more hurt. And, you are also a 500 football team. But you beat the Browns in Cleveland, and I give you full credit. I not take anything away. That's not the way I am. That's the way, that's typical fandom. You know. Oh, well, that's nice. This is how you really know the guy's gay. You know, look, you can live that lifestyle today. There is nothing wrong with being gay, Jason. There's nothing wrong with it. God, such a fast reaction from somebody. It's like,
and it would be amazing that he could have sex with anybody smelling like fucking rotten tomatoes.
yeah, methinks he doth protest too much. Oh God, just having fun, man. Just having fun. That's why I do this. Hey, Peter, Steelers don't have a future. They literally have the red-nosed reindeer and Haskins and drafting too low to get a top guy. Yeah, but they have today that they can celebrate. And I think that's great. You know, I'm glad some people find me funny. I don't know. I don't think that. And you know something, Lee? Was it a good game? I don't think either team was all that good. Somebody has to win. Congratulations, you won. I don't like to think that it was the best from either team. And here's Joe Shipley. Yeah, you know, and again, I don't have hatred. When something's taken away from us, like it was in San Diego, I have a problem with it. But when we just flat out lose a game to a team that we really should be beating, I don't get bitter about my divisional rival. There's no need for that. I look more inward. What's wrong with my coach, my team, my players, you know?
Right.
And Mark, you know, I think that he is trapped in his own head. I learned a long time ago in business that when you start thinking one-dimensionally one way and you're just tunnel vision, you eliminate all these other possibilities. And the first 3-4 years that I was in radio station ownership, I wasn't nearly as good as what I was after that, because you start seeing things and you say, you know, maybe I should listen to some of the things that this person's saying and this person's saying and delegate responsibilities and do what I do best and leave those people to what they do best. And sure enough, things come out fine. I think that's something that Stefanski has to learn as a head coach. And it's not a sign of weakness, giving up the play calling. It's whether you want to win or not, you know. And, you know, and again, Ben Roethlisberger, I don't care for him, his personality, his history. I think that he is not a good person. But I think that he won today. And, you know, he made the throw. The guy made the catch. God bless them all. I got nothing else to say. Let's see what else we have here. The Steelers also have lots of injuries. And yeah, I think that in the end, that's not an excuse now, is it? That's not an excuse. It's a fact. And the problem is that we don't have anybody to put in so that our injured wide receivers could get proper rest and get back to a shell of themselves. We have nobody on the roster to put out there except more tight ends. It's really a badly constructed you know, offense as far as the wide receiver room. Just not good. And I'm speaking about someone whose greatest moments were being averaged with Kirk Cousins, and also being around when Case Keenum had his year to remember. And Dwayne, you know, you say that, and that's what you said about the Bengals too, Dwayne. Now, Dwayne, level with me here. You lost 41-17 to the Cincinnati Bengals, who then turn around and lose to the Jets. You can't feel that good about yourself. You really cannot. All right? The Ravens were the Ravens. against the Bengals. And the Ravens haven't done shit with Lamar Jackson in the postseason. So I don't say stuff like that because I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC North. I do. But I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. We'll find out. But I don't think they are. I think they're too one-dimensional as well. And they're relying on a strategy that can get that young man hurt at quarterback. But the second you start saying the Browns are the Browns, they're going to come in and they're going to whip you. They're going to plaster you just like the Bengals did. That's the attitude that fans can't afford to have because then, you're stuck holding your dick. You ever come back here again, Dwayne, and the Browns hand it to the Ravens, I know you won't come back, but you'll be holding your dick. That's what happens.
Hopefully sticking it into the light socket.
Yeah. Peter's asking, how long will Stefanski last? He's going to last a while because guys who are 500 coaches, the Marvin Lewises of the world tend to last a while. And then when it's apparent they can't get it beyond that level, they do get let go after 4 or 5 years. So, and this I won't have either, okay? I did not know Trevisano, radio personality from WTAM. Didn't know him, but he died of a heart attack. And don't be picking on people who are passed away. That's not what we do here.
Other than Art Modell.
Oh, well, that's different. That's different. I would urinate on his grave tomorrow, but I just can't drive that far with a bad back. And how am I going to get the shovel to go over my shoulder that many times to reach him? All right. Silly question. If Deshaun Watson...
do have a dog.
Yeah. Dig, Topaz! Dig! Hey, that's true. His bones. Doggy wants a bone. Go get Art! A silly question for everyone. If Deshaun Watson didn't have issues, would you trade Baker for him? Saying if Deshaun Watson... We wouldn't be talking about any of this if he didn't have issues. What's the point of the question?
If he didn't have issues, the Texans wouldn't be talking about trading him. Let's be honest.
I mean, it's like, hello, McFly. It's like, no, I would not trade Baker for him, and he wouldn't be on the market, and, that's that.
But in the magical miracle, let's just entertain Wable's comment here.
Say what? I didn't understand you. I'm sorry.
Let's just entertain Wable's fantasy here for a second. Say the Texans did want to trade Deshaun Watson. No.
Yes.
You got to entertain Baker. It's almost kind of a lateral move, but at the same time,
No,
I don't know.
No, because no. No. I don't have to explain it any more than that. And Joe Shipley says, I love Art Modell. He brought us a team, always will. Art Modell, love. And you know something? Art Modell was a thief. He was a con man. And he's a jerk. And he's a dead jerk now. So, Dwayne, put it right in a socket like Cleveland fan for 20... In a socket? No, you're going to be holding your dick. Who said about putting it in a socket?
I did.
Oh. Well, Dwayne, now's not a good time to be trash talking. That's all. Trash talking is not. It's not a good time for that. And
fuck a uniball like fucking Dwayne anyway.
Yeah. And what's the next move for the Steelers? Mason Rudolph, when Ben doesn't get up from the ground, you're going to do the 2.2 second drop back all year. And you think you're going anywhere with that? Your team's got no future, man. Team's got no future. And, we got more pieces in place than the Steelers do. So, but unfortunately, our window, we help narrow our own window by not getting help at the wide receiver position. So,
Yeah.
So, at any rate, That's the post-game show in a nutshell. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, and I'll be back again Monday, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the next edition of Moohead Radio. And we'll be saying much of the same things, but I'm sure I'll have some additional stuff as well. And we'll talk more about as I read the transcripts of the post-game comments. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Tony and Brian, as always, thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll see what happens. Yep. And we'll be with you tomorrow. And until then, hasta la vista, faster heads. Good night.
Enjoy the replay, Key. All right.